Hey guys, what's up? So you may be asking yourself, I really don't know what to do. I don't have these monsters. I don't have the Dark Moonflower. I don't have the Dark Gatuto. I don't have any utility in my teams. I don't have the Shiva this or that or whatever. Well, if you're a player that has found yourself in that position, I'm here to tell you that you do. And her name is Wood MIHO. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because a few videos ago, I went over some free-to-play units that new players should be focusing down. Those included the Kokomaru, the Candling, the Siren, the Seedler, and the Mona, and in some cases the Kating. And later on, you will encounter Shelly, which is also a good free-to-play monster, but that doesn't happen till later on in the game. Now, the reason why this MIHO is free to play friendly is because you can pull her from 10+1s. You also get her as rewards doing story mode, and then you'll also encounter her doing the story mode. So she's not a rare like the Kokomaru or the Siren, but she is a super rare. So when you're farming for these monsters like the Kokomaru, there is a chance you will encounter her in the first continent. Now, this doesn't also apply only to the first continent. You may encounter her in the second continent. The only time you won't encounter her is if you go to the third continent where they have exclusive super rare Astromon set for that particular area. Now, the reason why I'm talking about the MIHO again, and I cannot stress this enough, is because when you're doing your farming for the team, for your team building for early game, especially if you're trying to complete story mode, you're going to have this monster without a doubt. Now I'm here to give you reasons as to why you should build her over the rest of the RGB elements, and in some cases the light and the dark units. So we're going to start comparing her off with the fire one. Now the fire has a 60% attack down that reduces the enemy's attack for 2 turns. 5-star skill is HP Siphon, attacks restore own HP in proportion to the amount of damage dealt. Now this is a really good monster, and I would say that she's good for PvP. But in the early game, you don't really need to be worrying about the PvP aspect of the game. It's okay to go in and do a few battles here and there to get your Astro Gems or whatever, that's okay. But when you start to become competitive like me and you try to climb Heroes 1, this is when you take this monster into consideration. That's what I'm trying to say. So now we're going to move on to the Water MIHO. The Water MIHO has a 100% sap for 2 turns on her 3-star, and on her 5-star is 60% for 2 turns. Now those are good rates for saps. She can be a very reliable sapper early game. However, the fact that we have the Seedler and the Kokomaru, I feel like the sap is enough. The only time I feel like you're gonna need a reliable sap is when you hit TOC 55, and even by then you should already be well off into the game that you already have better sappers, or at least have pulled like a Nat 5 that is a reliable sapper like the Fire Purse. Now again, it's not that bad to save this monster in your inventory, but compared to the Wood MIHO, I feel like the Wood MIHO gives you a little bit more utility to clear more content. So you can basically take the Wood MIHO and then build your teams around her, and she would fit into every single team. And that's my explanation. So hold off on this sapper. She is actually very good. I know that Fantasy, a well-known streamer and my friend, he built a whole sapper team for Golems B10. It didn't perform the way he wanted to, but from my point of view, I felt like it was actually a pretty good try at making an all-sapper team for B10. Who knows with these new changes that this might actually be reliable. But I do know for sure that I can say for TOC 55 that you can run this for that floor, because you can only get past the boss by using sap. Now, we'll talk about the wood one in a little bit, so we're going to skip it. We're going to go to the light one. Now, the light one has a taunt and an attack down. Again, she has those PvP utility aspects to her. I wouldn't rush her, especially because Golems B10 isn't going to be in my reach in the early to mid game. So I would just skip her for now, keep her as a trophy, work on my Wood MIHO and the teams that revolve around her. Now this is where it gets complicated, because dark monsters are, to me, are very valuable and are very good with that 100% crit damage, because I like to build my monsters with a lot of that hit really hard and can one-shot things and stuff like that. But before I got up to this point, I had to deal with monsters that were able to just tank damage and get through content. So in regards to that aspect, I wouldn't, but it's totally up to you if you want to. Again, I feel like the wood MIHO kind of out edges the dark MIHO, at least for early game, for the uses that you could use for her. Now, before we go to the wood MIHO, I do want to say that all the MIHOs do have a fantastic leader skill of increases the allies' resistance by 15 to 20%. I think it's kind of low compared to some of the Nat 5s that have a higher resist leader skill, but for a free-to-play player and for the amount of times that you're going to be encountering this MIHO, you're just going to have to settle for this. It's pretty okay. You can make use of it. I did with my MIHO when I 6-starred her. She was actually my first 6-star, by the way. I did bring her to PvP, and I was able to climb at least to around Platinum, Diamond-ish during my early mid-game just by playing Ashramon League. But then again, the way you climb in Ashramon League is by the amount of time you put into it, and I didn't put that much into it. I do remember doing like one whole week where that's all I focused on, but then I realized that as an early and mid-game player, I have other things that I need to do, and so that's where your mind should be at. Don't focus on PvP, but focus on like clearing story mode, getting your rewards and stuff like that. So let's go to the wood MIHO. Now, the wood MIHO has a defense down that grants a 60% chance to reduce the enemy's defense for 2 turns. On her 5-star skill, it's a stun. A 60% chance to stun the enemies for 1 turn. Now, it's only for 1 turn, Swag. So why is this very good for me? Why is this still a good monster? It's only for 1 turn. Well, that's fine, because it acts just like Water Purse's Petrification without the defense up. The thing is it's an AoE just like that Petrification, so you're just gonna get a free turn out of it, and you're gonna stun everybody if you can. Now moving back, we're gonna talk about her 3-star skill. Hands down, one of the best debuffs in the game. Even it's so good that even the golems fucking have it. All right, like the fucking golems have it to kill us. So you know shit gets real when bosses have it. Anyway, moving on, it's for 2 turns, and those 2 turns can make a difference when you're clearing mobs and bosses. Either way, you're going to feel the effects of defense down You're going to feel the effects of the defense down. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the fire candling. If you took my advice and you built the fire candling, you're not going to feel the 60%. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're not going to feel the 40% that you're missing, because you're just making up for when candling's missing, and candling is going to make up for when you're missing. And then if you build, if you have Kokomaru and Seedler, then they're just going to be sapping away. And then by the time you land your defense down, they're already dead. That's the worst that can happen, right? So you may be asking yourself, okay, so where do I get this monster? Well, it so turns out you can get her everywhere in the first 2 continents. The only thing is you have to be on extreme. And like I said earlier, she's not a rare monster. She has actually a higher encounter rate because she is a super rare monster. However, we are having these not exotic, but we are having these encounter rates now. I don't know if you guys saw it in like the notices section or the little map schedule thingy, but within those times you can probably pick her up. Again, if that's too hard for you and you don't want to farm, then just do a whole bunch of 10+1 pulls. You're guaranteed to get at least 1 or 2, and you might get some Nat 5s. But then again, with the Heroes Festival coming up, I want you guys to like hold your gems off. So please try not to do that. Now, I think I went over everything I wanted to, but we can go over her square slot and how to gem her. Now, I know I'm not going to cover the RGB elements and the dark and light elements because I really just want to focus on the wood MIHO and where she shines best. Now, with the square slots, The square and the triangle, or not the triangle, but the diamond is actually very good because the diamond one is the water golem and it's B7. So you should be able to clear that. If you have like a all 50s team and then you 6-star your MIHO, you can get that. And then the next element, if you bypass Golems B7 and you go to Golems B8 and you can clear Golems B8, it's actually really good to get square slots on her because Golems B8 is very squishy, and if you have a very reliable team, you can get those slots. Now, I don't really know too much about the lower tier dungeons. I just know that they were easy as hell. So, if you were to get gems from that, you could use the gems from there. However, since I wasn't getting like any 5-stars from like B5 and below or B4 and below, I wasn't doing golems. I was just doing story mode because, you know, I'm just gonna get 4-star gems from there anyway, and then I just like +9 them or +12 them, and then I slap them on my MIHO and we're good to go. Now we're gonna look at my MIHO. She's running a life set right now. I just kind of like tacked it on her because I needed her for something. I totally forgot. She's on defense, attack, and defense. And I think the reason why I put her on double defense and I didn't put like HP, not only because I didn't have an HP gem because they're going to like my purse and my nightmare right now, but the less HP she has, the easier she is to heal. And since I'm not using a burst healer, I'm using a passive healer. That healing is actually very valuable for MIHO. But again, I gotta back off because again, I am a late game player or a mid to late game player, and you guys might be early game players. I am trying to make this video kind of focused to free to play early game players who are transitioning to mid game, or mid game players who are having a struggle getting monsters and don't know really what to do because they don't really play this game as much as they should. Focus the MIHO, focus building your team around the MIHO. Now, for most content, you won't really need the resist lead because through story mode, I don't remember getting CC'd that much until the end. Maybe Magma Crags is where it was the worst at because most of my monsters were wood, but then every player is going to have a different problem. However, you shouldn't have that problem if you caught the Sealer and the Kokomaru, and then if you have a MIHO, that's already 3 monsters. No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about Magma Crags, so it's the other way around. If you got like the Siren and the Mona, then you shouldn't really have a problem because then you could just swap out your wood monsters for that and so on. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to look at my monster box around free-to-play units that I built her around, or that I would build her around if I was in your shoes with this monster box at the time, excluding the rebirth monsters and the Nat 4 and the exotic monsters and whatnot. So my team would center around this Mona. Why? Because Mona actually gives like a attack up buff to my wood monsters, and since my MIHO is gemmed in the life set and only has 1 attack gem, she could benefit from that little buff there. And since I'm trying to clear content in story mode, which is kind of easy, the extra attack is going to be helpful. It's going to be the same as where now I'm using the Light Knight to like farm Star Sanctuary or clear content in Slumbering City and Skyfalls. So I would take the horn, or I would take her as Monarch as the leader, and then I'd run a Horn, and then I'd run a healer, which is my Wood Coating. She's still running the gems from when I first started, I see. And I would probably use the Siren or one of the Sirens. And I don't think I have too much to say about that because, like I said, story mode isn't really gonna be that hard until you start progressing through the dungeons. Now, if you are asking yourself, yeah, but I'm already in the dungeons, I've done all that, blah, 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 what you say is not really helping right now, I'll go into a dungeon, and in fact, I'll go to the B7 dungeon, because that's where she'll shine. and I'll run the team. So again, here's my wood Mona at level 50. I'm gonna run my MIHO. I'm gonna keep her on that set. I don't want to run my Leo because he's Evo 3, and then that's kind of like cheating for you guys. I would run this Panolo, but he doesn't have gems, and I don't want to waste money ripping off gems for this. I feel like my co-team would get smacked really hard because she isn't max level. So I think ouch, Wood Hannah's not even so unprepared for this video, but it's okay. I will make do with what I have. Is he still? Oh, he's gemmed. Gemmed and ready to go. And then I think my co-team is. Alright, so there's my free-to-play all-wood team, and we're ready to go. We'll just run this once. Jeez, I hope I don't die. So there we see the defense down coming into play. Mona's taunt is actually very good. That wasn't actually Mona's taunt. That was actually Cottontail's taunt. So anyway, guys, during my time, the Wood Mona was a really good unit to focus on because she had a taunt and she heals herself and she has a taunt. At that time, I was focusing on B7. Again, in my case, I had more wood units, so that seemed like the easiest dungeon to get through for me. And in most cases, most players might find that the same for them as well. Here we see the AoE stun. I stunned one monster, which kind of relieves damage off the rest of the units. So the AoE taunt and the AoE stun paired together is very good for passing mobs. Here we go. We're going to stun again, hopefully. They resisted. But it's okay. There's nothing that's going to feel fucking better than when you stun the whole mob. I swear, when I used to play this game, or when I played this game in the early game, sometimes I would just watch my monsters just fight because I wanted to see the clutch stuns and stuff like that. There, the defense down helped us defeat that monster on the far right. Her attack animation isn't really fast or slow. It's kind of at a medium pace, so it's easy to dictate when you're trying to combo manually. Then again, if you're too new to this game and you don't know how to combo, just forget what I just said. That's like a mechanic for PvP and dragons and whatnot, and I should just shut up now. So my Cottontails is actually doing pretty okay since she's not fully leveled. She's at level 35, but it seems to be getting the job done. Now, if you guys don't know that this is the Evo 3 squirrel from the first map, I just picked it up when I was slime farming or playing this slime simulator because I need to get some gems. I don't really remember what this monster does. So what we're looking at right now, guys, is basically a free-to-play friendly 100% B7 cleared team that I just put together on the spot. And none of these guys have 6-star gems, maybe except MIHO. But then again, I remember gemming him with 5 stars. We'll check after if it really matters. So let's see units you can replace for this. Well, you can replace the squirrel with the Kokomaru. You can replace the Kotin with the Siren. I wouldn't recommend replacing the Mona or the MIHO, but you can use other units. You can use the water Mona if you want to. You can also use, what are some other? You could even use wood Beths, but that requires pulls and you're free to play. Okay, so 3 minutes 45 seconds is not too bad, not too shabby for a subpar team. Again, like I said, all you really need is a level 60 MIHO, so just funnel all your resources into farming star stones and elemental stones to get her up there, and you're pretty much set as long as you have as long as you have a team that you can build around her. Now what I did was I tried to build around my MIHO's active skills and what she can do, whereas just putting all together whatever wood monsters together, which may work sometimes, and it should work because this dungeon is water, but I don't recommend doing that for a a higher logical kind of thinking. You might want to actually be a little bit more tactile when you put your teams together. So like with this Mona, she taunts on her active, MIHO stuns on her active. I forgot what he does. I think he petrifies, but the petrify is good because it acts just like the stun, and it's AoE if I'm correct. And the Cottontail as well. The Cottontail heals and debuffs, and the debuff is actually very good because it'll help us like not get locked down, and then we can like clear the boss a little faster. Okay, so before I end the video, we're gonna go and really see if my MIHO had some 6-star gems. If she did, I'm so sorry, but you can still, yes, she does. I'm so sorry, I totally forgot. But anyway, that could have also been the reason as to why she was able to tank those shitty water monsters. However, 5-star gems at the very least could do her well too, at least plus 12. Anyway guys, that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. I'm just really trying to help out new players. I feel that it is my duty as a content creator to always revisit the early game sometimes in the games and try and help those new players who are just coming into the game to promote the game, because I really do love this game and I want them to have the experience that I had and that I am having with this game. So anyway guys, thank you so much for coming by, but it's time to send you to that outro. I'll see you later.